Hello YouTube, this is Kurt, and welcome to the Kurt Winters YouTube channel, dedicated to bringing you advice on collecting cars and celebrating the history of these amazing machines. Remember, if you like the content of this channel, go ahead and hit subscribe, it's free, leave a comment and hit that like button. Today's video will pose the question, was the Mitsubishi 3000 GT the most successful Japanese sports car of all time? Let's find out. Now, you guys already know this is often called the poor man's Ferrari, which is a rather odd term to me for this car. I mean, the only thing Ferrari like about it is the Testarossa Ferrari strakes that you have on either side in front of the back tires, which are functional for brake cooling. But really, other than that, I'm not getting a lot of Ferrari vibes from it. If you are getting a Ferrari vibe, please leave it a comment below because I'd like to hear about it. Now, the 3000 GT went through three different generations. The first was the pop-up headlight. Then they went to this one, which is often referred to as the bug or praying mantis faced car. And the final generation was often referred to as the catfish faced car, which is equally funny to me because this one kind of looks like a fish too. Now, again, this is a 1995 3000 GT SL, which is one step above the base model. It is a front-wheel drive car with a transversely mounted inline six. Now, if you've watched some of my other videos on the 3000 GT, I go over some of the different modifications that I inherited with the car and talk about some of the ones that I did myself. So if you get a chance, I would definitely say go ahead and check out those videos. Now, normally with my other cars that I have in the stable, a Corvette and a Nissan 300ZX, I tend to stay with OEM or stock looks and or parts to put on the car. But with this car, which I only paid about $3,900 for, I decided to go ahead and take as much freedom as I wanted. So it is a silly looking car, there's no doubt about it, with the big gold rims and the light bar on the front, which, by the way, that modification is the one I get the most hate on Facebook. People telling me, how dare you put a light bar on the front of your 3000 GT. But I can go ahead and let you know that the light bar does not interfere with the cooling process. And I also recently put a new radiator in this car, so it's actually running cooler with the light bar than it ever has before. All right, so now we've got a chance to talk about some of the aesthetics of the car and some of the history of when I got it. Let's go ahead and hop in and take it for a drive because this is the best part of the 3000 GT, I promise. So this is always my favorite part of any video, is actually driving the car. I know there's all different kinds of YouTubers out there, some who like to sit in their office and flap their gums, and others who like to get out and drive and experience what the car is all about. So I really hope that you appreciate or enjoy, I should say, us getting out and driving the car. So let's talk a little bit about the 3000 GT and some of the reasons about why it is, in my opinion, the most successful Japanese sports car of all time. First, let's talk about where it came from and how long it was available. This car, as well as its sister car, the Dodge Stealth, were all born in Nagoya, Japan, were marketed in the US roughly between 1990 and 1999. So what's really odd to me is, if you think about it, the 300ZX was phased out by 96. The Supra, same thing, phased out around 95, 96, and the Mazda RX-7. And the other thing that kind of shocked me was, early on, this car, not only did it outsell the RX-7 and the 300ZX and the Supra early on, it also was faster than all of those cars. If you go back and you look at the quarter mile times, people were pushing 5 and under in these cars, which may not seem fast now, but what you have to remember is, in the 90s, anything under 5 seconds was blazing fast, and the Mitsubishi proved that it could do it. Now, they did make a lot of these cars, and they offered them in 3 different configurations. You had your base, you had your SL, which was this car, and then of course you had the famed VR4, which was the all-wheel drive twin turbo version of this car. So Mitsubishi very wisely marketed this car to several different financial demographics, and by keeping the aesthetics, the outside of the car, virtually identical, people didn't know if you had a VR4, people didn't know if you had an SL or a base, and it didn't matter. One thing that you kind of have to remember in the 90s, right at the end of the 90s into the 2000s, you know, it wasn't really about how fast your car was. It was, how fast did your car look while it was sitting still? And that's where the Mitsubishi really, really paid off, was the aesthetics of the car. I've even had friends who have said, wow, that's a cool body kit that you have on your Mitsubishi. And I say, it's no body kit. That's the way it came from Nagoya, Japan. So I can run my mouth all I want about why the Mitsubishi 3000 GT is the greatest or most successful sports car of all time. But let's go ahead and take it out on the back roads. Let's have some fun with it. We got some sticky Nitto tires on there, and let's see what she can do. Now I can tell you that I've had this car up to 130. Obviously, I'm not doing 130 on these back roads, but I did get it up to that on the highway. And I have to say, out of all my cars, when this car gets above 100, 110, the aerodynamics and the drag coefficient is really, really remarkable. The car basically hugs down to the road like a Hoover vacuum cleaner and just sucks its way along the road. It never feels sketchy or unstable, even beyond pushing it above 100. Now, another thing about the SL is we do have the front wheel drive, and we've got lots of grip. So coming in and out of the corners, you're going to get a real chance to enjoy it. Like to take your 3000 GT out or your Dodge Stealth, drop a comment below and tell me how you like to drive it. Remember, if you like this content, go ahead and click subscribe. It's free, it doesn't cost you anything. And while you're at it, go ahead and smash that like button and leave a comment of what you think about the video. this car is a 5-speed. I know they went to 6 speeds later on, but I'll tell you what, the 5-speed is an absolute blast to drive. Although it's a rather notchy gearbox, or perhaps since this girl has just shy of 180,000 miles on it, I know it's on her second gearbox at least, but that a new gearbox would definitely do her some good. One thing about the 3000 GT is the steering and the input is impeccable. It does not have quite the same turn-in ratio that the 300CX has. With the 300CX, your turn-in is so precise. But just as with a lot of other 90s cars, they kind of suffered from a numb steering kind of feel. So we'll go ahead and take it again through this next set of twisties, and you guys can tell me what you think. And drop a comment below if you think that the 3000 GT is the greatest sports car of all time. Tell you these corner entry speeds in case my wife is watching. Should have taken that one in second instead of third. Lost my RPMs. But one thing about this car is it's so planted. So even if you get to test drive one, man, I hope you get to do it in a spirited fashion, because the car is so planted, especially the front wheel and the all-wheel drive. You just always know where you are, and you just never have to worry about where you're at in the road. I really want to thank y'all for watching. I hope you had as much fun with this video as I did making it. The Mitsubishi 3000 GT, whether you get a base or an SL or a VR4, it's just a blast. It's one hell of a car to drive. So if you've got one, drop a comment below and let me know how it's been treating you. We do have a saying down by the beach, which is no turbo, no problems. I'll see you in the next video.